Cloud transformation continues to shake up and reshape the technology channel, and vendors and solution providers are both looking for easier ways to scale these offerings, suggests Eric Nowak, President of Global Enterprise Computing Solutions at Arrow. He joins host Frank Vitagliano in episode 49 of Beyond Distribution with GTDC for an interactive discussion on that topic and shares his thoughts on the current and future direction of IT distribution. What role will AI and data analytics play in the rollout of new technologies? How can vendors leverage digital platforms to optimize their distribution ROI and quickly scale revenue streams and solutions adoption? Check out this episode of Beyond Distribution with GTDC for those answers and more. And be sure to visit the GTDC Knowledge Hub for access to all episodes of the podcast and other valued industry resources. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond Distribution podcast. I am thrilled today to have with me somebody I've known for a long time and worked with, Eric Nowak, who is the president for Global ECS for Arrow. Eric, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Frank. Hi, everyone.
It's great to have you. And certainly, you know, we met when you were running Europe for Arrow for a long time. And we're part of the leadership team in Europe that, you know, helped advise GTDC on what we should do and how things that we should be thinking about. And now, you know, you're in the new role in Arrow. So first of all, congratulations on the role.
Thank you very much.
One of the things we like to do when we start these is just to get the audience to know you a little bit and talk a little bit about, you know, how you got your start in the IT industry and, you know, some of the jobs you've had. So if you would.
Okay. Well, actually, I started my career in the IT industry. So mid-80s, a period that probably just you and I can remember. I started to work with hardware vendors, Burroughs, Wang, people that have disappeared in the meantime. And then I went to the software vendors, Santa Cruz Operation, Oracle, McAfee. I had the sales and management positions in France first, and then international roles, EMEA and international roles. And I finally joined a European distributor called Logix in 2005. And we were acquired by Arrow in 2008.
Yeah. And been with Arrow ever since. Yeah.
Sorry?
And you've been with Arrow ever since 2008.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In a regional role, and then EMEA president, and in this global role for let's say 6 or 9 months now.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for the compliment because I actually started in the mid '70s. So, but I'll take it. Well, look, hopefully, you know, you've had some time to settle in. Obviously, you know, in your new role since being appointed president of the Enterprise Computing Solutions. So what, you know, obviously coming into the role, you were very familiar with Arrow and you're very familiar with, you know, distribution, but what are some of the priorities? What are some of the things you're thinking about as you go forward?
So our ambition is to become the leading distributor of hybrid cloud and AI solutions for the IT mid-market. That is the ambition. So my priorities were and are to focus on this, accelerate our transition to the new world, align the SLAs and the business practices across the geos, and make sure that we leverage our digital platform, our sphere, and help our partners and suppliers to make their journey to the hybrid cloud. So basically, coming from a traditional kind of value distribution model to something that is much more aligned to the hybrid cloud and cloud. We were more advanced in this journey in Europe, and so we priority number one, just align the two business practices.
Yeah. Well, you know, the interesting thing is what having worked with distributors for years, you know, what I've kind of observed is you guys do an excellent job of, you know, building the core functions, right? The things that absolutely have to be done, and then build on from there, right? In other words, make investments from there to take it to the next level. And I assume that's the priorities that you're working on, as you mentioned, hybrid cloud and other new technologies that are going to hit. And Arrow traditionally, as a VAD has always been, ahead in that space, right? I mean, you guys have always been on the cutting edge.
Agree. The objective is to always be ahead of the curve, on board the new technologies, make sure that basically we surf on all the big technology waves. On this cloud and AI waves, the most important thing is the platform. It's now a long time that we are working on our Sphere platform. And so as you said, we are building every bricks one by one. We built the platform 13 years ago. And so, and now we basically are ready to play, hopefully, a very important role in this new world.
Yeah. So let's talk about platforms since you mentioned them, and obviously, you have ArrowSphere, and to me, it seems like when I look at the evolving trends and what's happening in distribution, the platforms are absolutely critical, and they have to get built out. You have to make the major investments, and they're really going to provide tremendous benefit, as we move forward. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the progress? Where are you at today? And what are you hearing from, the vendors and the customers as it relates to this?
So what we call ArrowSphere is, in fact, many things. This is a marketplace, traditional marketplace. Basically, our partners can buy on the marketplace electronically what they could buy before with a manual process. This is also a renewal platform. This is our web presence, but this is also our cloud management, cloud brokerage, cloud orchestration platform. And this is, of course, the most advanced part of this infrastructure and this platform. And this cloud platform is absolutely unique in basically the functionalities that it brings to the partner that can source every kind of cloud services, but also our own managed services. And we have a huge portfolio of enterprise cloud services on the platform. They can deploy, they can control, they can report, they can manage everything. They can use it on a white label web page. So basically everything a CSP, MSP needs to do their business in the cloud, and specifically the back office part, meaning the link with all the vendors, they use it with the platform. So it's much more than a pure marketplace where you find products. It's also controlling and managing your own cloud and now AI business.
Yeah, in a very efficient way, right? I mean, it's basically
very efficient way.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of view it as, from a business process standpoint, sort of from a quote to cash kind of a process. It streamlines everything all the way through, and for everybody.
Agree.
So the way I think about it is, one, that way. Second, the marketplace, which everybody has to have a marketplace these days, right? We can't talk about anybody in the space who doesn't have one. But the third thing that I think is really relevant and really important is the data aspect of it, because the distributors for years have been sitting on incredible amounts of extraordinarily valuable data that, in my opinion, hasn't been actioned as well as it could be to help generate and drive business, because in a lot of cases, we just didn't have the tools to do that, right? But I get the sense that your platform will provide those tools, and the data piece becomes really relevant.
So we already had kind of data analytics, data intelligence kind of functionalities on the platform. But now with the addition of AI, it will become something that every single employee at the partner side will be able to use. So we already have one AI assistant focused on Microsoft. And these AI assistants are basically using the public data, the data of the vendor, the data of Arrow as a distributor, and potentially, depending on the integration that we have with the partner, the data of the partners, so that basically they can ask every kind of question on the Microsoft, the IBM, the Oracle, the VMware, the whatever kind of brand. And they will ask, where is my business? Why this is decreasing? What should I do with that? What is the right answer technology for this need? And so on and so on. So basically, we will use all the data that we have, including our data, to provide the partners with an AI assistant that will help them growing their business. That is a big difference, because before this, well, it was data analytics, but let's say the user interface is not the same.
Exactly. And that's what I observed. I spent 2 years in the solution provider world, and I would get the data, but it was never actionable. You know, it wasn't easy to utilize it. It wasn't easy to drive value out of it. And for sure, it was hard to generate incremental sales out of it, right? Which I think is a huge advantage that all the distributors will have. Some will do it better than others, obviously, and a lot of it will be predicated on how to make that data actionable and easy to use and easy to understand. And I'll tell you, it'll make a major difference, and the vendor community will be quite happy. The supplier group.
We do it for years for some customers with some vendors, but the quality of the data that we have as a distributor, the ability that we have to compare basically and say that with this vendor A, in this kind of situation, we can probably upsell with this kind of solution and so on and so on. That helps a lot all the vendors and all the partners, or basically being able to say that at this time, depending on the configurations of the customers, you should have these needs, or it's the right moment to offer this. Once again, was something that we had in the past, but as you said, very difficult to actionate. With this AI assistant, it will become a kind of daily task that you can process.
Yeah, that's great. So that kind of morphs into a little bit a discussion around some of the other things that you guys are doing to help certainly your customers, but also the suppliers, as it relates to the services that are needed in the marketplace, whether it's skills for folks, because cybersecurity and AI continue to be the number one topics that I hear when I talk to solution providers. Those are the two things. And the second thing I hear right behind it is they're struggling for skills in order to have people to be able to really leverage those areas. So I know you've got a number of things that you guys are doing in the area of services related to that. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, so we have a large range of services that once again we are trying and aligning across the globe. So traditional services, say we do support, we do training, we do technical expertise, we do marketing services. So every kind of services that VAD used to do for years, of course, we have it, and it's super important, specifically the training at the moment and all the expertise that we can bring with all these new technologies that are arising. But what we added to the portfolio is a range of managed services now that we basically can have on the platform. The idea is that in this world is more and more complex. The partners, and specifically the partners that are mid-market partners, cannot have all the solutions that they need. And the customers is asking for a complete solution. So basically they can pick up and choose kind of backup as a service, endpoint security managed services, or networking or storage. And so we have a range of 12 managed services that the partner can activate and include in their solutions. And this is where we are really focusing, because we believe first that it is really a need on the market, and secondly, it can scale. And it's not always easy to scale as a distributor in terms of services.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would also tell you that there's, two factors that I saw all the time. One was the solution providers are struggling right now to figure out where to put whatever small investment dollars they have, right? In other words, building a new practice, particularly a complicated one like AI, and trying to look at all the use cases and all the various things you have to skill people up for becomes hard and extraordinarily expensive. And so if you can help, um, mitigate that, that's a very significant value add.
This is exactly what we intend to do. So basically providing an AI solution on the platform to the partners so that basically they can focus on, let's say, their own AI added value for the end users. But in terms of the product that they use, the services, they already have this on the platform and they don't have to develop it. And the same with the managed services. Basically, they can use it as a wide branded managed services and focus on their own services. And it's for many of these services, one by one after the other, it has been the fastest ramping up product that we had 4 years. So basically, it's a great success. People like this idea of complementing their old services by something that is more generic.
Yeah, that's great. I think that'll be extraordinarily well received in the marketplace because I hear all the time that it's a major requirement. The other thing that obviously has always happened since whether it was the mid 80s or the mid 70s when I started is sort of the evolution of technology, which is, just it's not abated. In fact, if anything, it continues to accelerate. And I know you work very closely with your suppliers in terms of what they have, what's coming, and then how to deploy it into the marketplace. Talk a little bit about sort of the things that you do to help with, sort of getting that new technology, from the supplier into the marketplace and have it be productive with the solution providers for their customers. Right?
So first, you need to choose where you want to play.
Yeah.
So let's say we are an infrastructure player and security networking player, and in the enterprise, this is where we play. And the aim for us is to find these new technologies that are arising within, let's say, our existing vendors, of course, but also new vendors. And then to be very quick up and running in terms of our capability to train, our capability to help the partners to do the first sales, the first implementations. So it's all about technical expertise, support, training at the beginning very quickly. So we have, let's say, a long list of technical experts. And then, of course, try to convince and choose the right partners for the right technologies, making sure that the vendors can have, say, a bunch of partners at the very beginning that work with them. Except the fact that we are also now doing on the platform with trainings on the platform, introductions of product on the platform, and so some digitization of the process, it has always been the same. The big difference, and you said it, is that there are more and more new technologies arising, and it's quicker and quicker. A technology wave was 10 years sometimes ago, and then 5 years, and then 3 years, and now it's 2 years. And basically, and you have to jump on every new kind of technologies. If you look at all the investments that the channels and the vendors needed to do on the cloud, hybrid cloud world already, and then suddenly the AI wave arrive, and so basically you're still in the middle of your journey to the hybrid cloud, and you need to take into account the new AI wave, and maybe there will be another one. It's pretty complex, and that's why I believe the distributors are very important, because we can scale, we can invest on the technologies and the people, and then share this with all the channels when the partners one by one cannot do that.
Absolutely. And I've been saying for a while, you know, you guys are, you know, sort of the orchestrator of the ecosystem, if you will, the IT ecosystem. You're right in the middle of it. The vendors are upstream and you know, your customers are downstream, but somebody's got to sort of orchestrate that, and it becomes really important. So one of the things that clearly from a technology standpoint, things are changing, but also getting to market is changing with consumption models, you know, beginning to proliferate a little bit. I know it probably hasn't happened as quickly as some of the vendors would like it to happen, right? But it is starting to happen, and it's required changes on your part for sure to be able to facilitate, you know, those model changes. And I know coming from a solution provider background, those are amazing changes because the game changes from what was a traditional sell something, buy something, sell something, and you have, you know, 60 days to pay for it and 60 days to get paid, to now a consumption model, which is a totally different way of doing business. Yeah.
Exactly. And as usual, the vendors are very quick on changing their programs. And so the programs will say, well, selling is okay, but now you need to make them consume more. Okay. Right. Well, and that's true. It's a big difference. It's a big difference for the partners. So it's all the same. It's about training. It's about, so we have specifically on our Sphere platform, because this is where everything as a service and the cloud products are. We have a bunch of trainings, coaching sessions with the partners, tracks, so that basically we bring them through sale, resale, and then make sure that basically they consume. You can add some other things, but it becomes it becomes very important. Absolutely. We are in a consumption model more and more.
Yeah. And then we're kind of coming to the end here, but let me ask a little bit about, it seems like every week or so, there's a new set of vendor programs being announced, because many of the vendors have programs that might have been hardware oriented, right? And certainly not AI ready, if you will. I'm assuming, you know, that you and your colleagues spend time counseling and working with the vendors as they're rolling these out, because, you know, frankly, having spent a lot of time in the vendor space, I know that when we built it as a community, we were better served than, you know, building it and asking, you know, you all to implement it without involvement or without engagement. So the engagement piece, I think, becomes really critical. How do you feel about that? And you know, are you guys working with that?
Absolutely. And most of our major vendors, this is exactly as you described. There is earlier discussions on, let's say, the change that they would like to do and how it could impact the efficiency, but also the profitability of the channel and the way we should do it, and what it would change in their own channel. And so we have a dual role here. First, try to advise and help the vendors to build the right program. And the right program is something that is clear and basically with clear objective, what they want to achieve in terms of new business very often, or mid-market. Basically, the vendors try to organize their coverage. And more, they ask the distributors and the channel to cover one part of their business. Very often, the mid-market, it can be some kind of technology and so on. And so they are adapting their programs to this. We need to make sure that basically what is in the program corresponds to the right things to do. And then on the other side, when we have a new program, we need to help the vendor to recruit, manage, ramp up the partners. We need the partners to understand the program. We need to make sure that the program, and specifically the rewards, the margin that we get, the channel, are predictable and strong enough so that we can invest. So this is the same. We are the middleman, and we try to make sure that, let's say, the voice of the partners are heard, and that the partners understand what are the objectives of the vendor.
You know, the interesting thing is, the people that don't really understand what distributors do and don't really understand our overall business, take a lot of that for granted, right? They take a lot of that, and what you just described in 2 minutes is an enormous amount of activity, and frankly, an enormous amount of experience and understanding and expertise to be able to do that, because from talking to your customers what works and what doesn't work and what has worked and what hasn't worked, right? So my last question, kind of tied to that, but really more along the lines of customers, is I know in your role in Europe, you were very close to the customer community. You spent a lot of time talking to your customers, understanding what was going on. And certainly now I'm sure you're doing it on a global basis. What are you hearing? How do the customers feel kind of, going into ending 24, heading into 25? Are they optimistic? Are they feeling good about the opportunities they're seeing, et cetera?
Well, it's a mix of afraid about the existing and super excited about, let's say, what we can do differently in the future.
Yeah.
These hybrid cloud models and the AI are so disruptive sometimes that for some of the partners, specifically the ones that have a big install base and a huge understanding of their own business and so on, that's difficult to evolve, but we are there to try to facilitate the journey. That's the idea of all the services in the platform, and also try to guide them where we believe it makes sense. And what we can see is that the growth on the hybrid cloud and AI, and not only the GPUs and so on, but in this world, makes that we are probably in one of the most exciting time in IT. But it will require a lot of efforts for the partners, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
But we are here to help once again with the platforms, and we are building this platform based on the thousands and thousands of partners that we have, meaning that once again we can scale. The time to market is super important.
Yeah.
Let's say the ones that are moving fast have a big advantage. So it's really, you really have the ones that are a bit more worried, the ones that are super excited. You also have a lot of new kind of partners coming, let's say, with these new technologies, these new way of doing the things. Now, once again, it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, well, and that makes, frankly, it makes the role that you guys are in and what you're doing that much more important, because I know exactly what you're saying, and I've heard that. I've heard them. I have talked to a number of them. They're cautiously optimistic, but it requires a significant amount of work, and partnerships are changing a little bit, right? In terms of how business is transacted, how people go to market, et cetera. And while the opportunity is huge out there, you got to be prepared to get to it. And I think based on what you've talked about, you're helping them get there, which is great. Yeah.
This is, we hope. I hope
Yeah.
we can do it. Absolutely, that is the objective. Yes, it's
Absolutely.
I believe that the magnitude of the changes we've never seen before, and so it's by combining the efforts of all the vendors and the distribution and the channels that we'll manage to find our way in this new world.
Well, that's great. Look, I really appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us, and I know how busy you are, in your new role, and continued success. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.